Hello and welcome to the Kimbley IT podcast, episode 81. Today we're joined by Alicia Pierre. Is that how I pronounce your surname? Have I done that fancy?
Alicia Pierre. That's good.
Brilliant. From Legally Techie, you're based over in Miami. So you are a specialist. You founded Legally Techie, and you specialize in moving legal boutiques to Google Workspace.
Yes, exactly. Helping them to optimize the cloud and also be able to make sure they're using all the features and tools as well.
Super. How long have you been doing that for?
So I like to say my business is a quarantine baby because I was working with a boutique firm for about 2 years, and then I launched it last year, July. So it's going to be 1 year old soon.
Cool. It's been going well because we've come to know each other on LinkedIn because you've appeared on my feed a lot, and then we connected, and you're sharing some great content out there. Likewise, I think you're connected to Carl as well on LinkedIn too.
I hope so.
Yeah, I was just looking at the website. I really like the website. Like what you're doing. I can already see your YouTube channel looks good. It's good to see.
So what have you been up to? What have you been up to the last couple of weeks, Alicia?
Yeah, so I'm trying to launch Legally Techy Academy, which is just like pre-recorded video tutorials on how to do things within Gmail or for Drive, and particularly focused with law firms. So whether it's with, I use the legal jargon more because that's my audience. So about OC, JA, stuff like that. They know the jargon for, and I try to just niche it down for them and, make sure I'm talking, to their language. So that's been pretty fun.
You previously worked in legal firms, didn't you, as well? So you've got the inside knowledge of how they operate.
Mm-hmm. I worked for a government agency, which had about 22 attorneys, and then I worked for a boutique firm, which probably had about 6 to 7. So I know the dynamics of kind of both.
Super. So how do you find legal firms over there in the UK? We find that they're always behind the times in technology, and they've never got the latest stuff. Is that the same in the States?
More or less, but I think quarantine and pandemic has really pushed them out their comfort zone. So it's good to be there at the door, hugging them, welcome them to the tech side. So I'm enjoying that.
I was disappointed, James, to see, like, right by my house, a legal firm opening an office during the pandemic, and now they've opened it. You can't get up the road for all the cars parked. Ridiculous. Going the wrong way.
Yeah, you should be working from anywhere. So based on that, do you focus on legal firms in the Miami area, or do you do across the states?
It's across the states. So usually firms between solo attorneys and small firms I work with, just because I know most of them don't have like the IT department, of like big law, or they don't have really the knowledge. So everything is just a hit and miss with them.
Yeah. So that's quite similar to the UK on the smaller legal firms. So we've got no legal clients because we tend to keep away from. How do you find it with the we stay away from them because they're a regulated industry, so they have to have specific things and like that. And I guess that's the same over there. But I imagine Google Workspace is perfect for them in that it meets all their regulatory needs and requirements.
Yeah, so it's not, I wouldn't say as strict as I think it's the GCPD you guys have.
GDPR,
Yeah, GDPR. Okay, thank you.
Don't worry about that.
Google Cloud, GCP.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about but it is a regulated industry, and a lot of states now, each state has their own regulations that are, requiring that, law firms have that technical duty of being, technically compliant. So it's good that now they're enforcing it because it wasn't as much before. So I think it's the right time, starting my business.
I'd say we have less regulations involved in technology here, James, in the UK.
I imagine our regulation is much more dated and out of date compared to what you've got over there.
Industry for sure, but technology-wise, I don't think there's any stipulation that a legal firm does anything with technology that I'm aware of.
No, they don't even have to have any security on the email, so they don't have to have SPF or DKIM installed or anything like that. So there's news stories regularly in the UK where someone's gone to purchase a house, and at some point when you've got to do the money transfer, some hacker's just been sitting on the emails waiting for the exchange to go through, and then when the details of where to pay the money to come through, they jump in and send the email to the client saying you need to pay it to here, and the legal firm doesn't get into any trouble at that at all for that. It's the person purchasing the house who loses their money, and there's no comeback at all. So I don't know, is that the same over where you are?
Well, it depends on the state. So each state has their own different regulations. There's no federal, that covers across the board. So some states are more strict, like California is super strict regarding with, clients' data and stuff like that. So, when I deal with the clients, I make sure that we start from there and then work our way into what can be applied and so forth.
Do many of your clients and leads that come on board, are they already using Google Workspace, or is that quite unusual for someone to have it?
Yeah, so I only work with those who already have Google Workspace. I'm not so big on converting.
Okay.
So, it's a lot harder for attorneys if they're using Outlook to then convert them. And then I'm not really want to do the training. And so if you're already using Google Workspace, I tell them, hey, let's learn how to work with your existing resources and services before we add on any other tools and stuff like that. So that's my thing.
Anything else been going on in the last 2 weeks? You, Alicia?
I did go YouTube Live last week, which I think we'll talk about a bit. Yeah, so that was definitely out my comfort zone. I'm very low key into myself, so seeing myself online is still a little cringy for me.
You get used to it. You look at Kyle. Do you want to tell us what we've been up to the last 2 weeks, Carl?
I'm not sure I want to say anything now.
You're going to leave the company now.
Yeah, that's right. I actually went to a customer for the first time in, a long time, because we've had a good lockdown period in the UK since the start of the year. And I went out to site there to our customer. That was good. We're making a complete takeover of their Google Workspace. So they're already using it, but they hadn't got anybody looking after it. And the MD was a little bit too much in it. So we've taken that on for them, and it's been good. We've just been switching out some old kit, getting rid of some bits of old servers that aren't needed and things like that. So I've been out there. James has been out there today. I'm going back out tomorrow as well.
I visited them today, and I told them about Data Studio, which they weren't aware existed, because they've been building all these dashboards inside Google Sheets and elsewhere. And then I said, well, do you know about Data Studio? Because if you've got some data here and some data there, you can plug it all in, because they've got TV screens in the office across the wall showing things. And it was like a revolution. I don't know the word. Revelation for them. And there's oh no, we've just wasted all this time building our own things. We could use Data Studio from the start, because they've been on Google Workspace for a few years, but they just never knew about Data Studio even existing. So they're so they're going in to do that now. Have you done anything with Data Studio, Alicia?
No, not. But I have that similar experience of a lot of firms are just using Gmail. It's just they're not even realizing about Google Drive. They're not realizing about Google Sites or Sheets or So I know that feeling of did you know? And they're what?
Yeah, exactly. It's like Google Meet. They don't know about Google Meet, and they've gone and bought themselves a Zoom subscription instead. But you didn't need that. You could just use Google Meet. What else did we do, Carl? There's two things on here. Oh yeah, we're moving a new. We've got a new client on board, and they are kind of two. They were one company, but they're going to split into two companies, because on one they were using the same Google Workspace under the same brand, but they're now becoming two brands with two separate Google Workspaces, because one of them needs to be regulated. In a regulated, it's not in a regulated industry, but they're going for some high qualifications on the way that they've got it deployed and set up, and certifications. And so the other company's data and all that stuff now needs to be moved out into its own Google Workspace. So we're doing a split on this company, and the split went live at the weekend, and now we're doing a post data migration. We're migrating the data afterwards, just because it's as you know, if you're ever organizing someone's data, we don't know which files are important to them and which files should go where, and so they've got to be involved in that, and that's always the slowest part of the migration. But so far that's gone well. After I emailed them the logins this morning, because I actually forgot over the weekend to do that, but sent them the logins, and they're all set up.
And some people would say organizing your drive, it doesn't matter, because they think the search bar is amazing, right? But I think at those moments like that, you'll be grateful that you have folders set up, because it's a lot easier to migrate.
I don't agree with Google where they say just dump it everywhere and use the search in Google Drive. That isn't the best way. Folders, keeping it in folders and shared drives are just so you keep control and know who has access to what inside your drive. But yeah, that's what we've been up to anyway. So we'll move on to any new content. So Alicia, content's king to get people to notice you, like we noticed you on LinkedIn and vice versa. So what stuff have you stuck out recently?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I did the Gmail course for attorneys on YouTube Live. It was just a 30-minute course. Definitely something new, different, out of my comfort zone. I was trying a whole bunch of researching how to do, like, share my screen on YouTube Live and stuff. So
yeah,
it's not the perfect, but I'm glad I at least did it. I tested it out. And of course, as time goes, I'll perfect it, get better setup and equipment and so forth. But I'm just happy I got it done. So
yeah, it looks smart. I've just got it playing on my screen at the moment. So that's just a free Gmail course.
And it's very basic fundamentals. So I don't go into like DKMI and setting it up or signature and stuff like that. So yeah,
I can see Christian got involved in your Christian Newman.
Supportive. True supporter. So
I've hit the subscribe button. So we're now subscribed to Legally Techie. So that's a free Gmail course for I guess US based attorneys on YouTube that you put out there. So definitely worth a view. We'll stick a link to that in the show notes so anyone listening in can check that out too.
Yeah, and it can apply too for those maybe outside the US, because somebody wrote a comment like he just started his firm in his country and was so happy that he found this channel. So I guess he's using Google Workspace for his law firm.
I guess you're pretty unique, actually. I don't know of any other person who's specializing just in legal for Google Workspace.
Yeah, even if you go into the partner directory, there's nobody really for the legal sector. So I'm trying to work myself there.
Super. And you're a full Google partner as well now?
Well, I have the membership, but I need to apply and I need to go through that whole process of the application. So I'm pulling my leg. I'm like dragging my feet with that, but I need to get it done.
You'll be all right. You'll get through that. That'll be good stuff. We stuck out a couple of blog posts. So we did one about co-working venues. So we're quite bullish on like WeWork and stuff like that taking off. Especially, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but in the UK, lots of especially small to mid-sized businesses are essentially closing their offices down. Even some enterprise ones are doing so and allowing their employees to work from anywhere. I think it will take off a lot because when you've not got an office that you're not renting anymore, all that money you can now use that to give your employees subscriptions to co-working locations. So in this blog post, we basically are 3 questions you should ask before signing up to a workspace, to a co-working venue. And it's kind of things like, how's their broadband set up? What security have they got there? Because you're going to be on a network that's shared out with everybody. So you don't want people being able to see what you're doing in Google on other machines. So just some advice and guidance on that. The next one is the fun one that you may get this, Alicia, as well, is where a company doesn't tell you that someone has left the business before they've left. So they'll drop you a message saying, can you suspend so-and-so's account? Okay, yeah, we can do. When are they leaving? Oh, they left a week ago. Okay, so the whole point, so during that week, you've essentially abandoned your duty to look after your client's data and your own data, because they could log in at any point, siphon that data off, share it out, do whatever they wanted to. And it's always, IT is always the last to know when people leave, and usually the last to know when someone starts as well, because it's normally 8:30 in the morning. Oh, we've got a new starter. Oh, when do they begin? They're coming in at 9 o'clock. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Same over there.
Yeah, so that's something I kind of did with the law firm I was at prior. I was like that unofficial IT person just because I was, well known within the admin console. So I know the feeling of when those are joining and when they're leaving and migrating the emails and the docs and everything. So yeah, I'm usually the last to know.
Yeah, always the way. And then the final one we did was a blog post on using bots in Google Chat, because so many people don't know about the bots inside Google Chat and they don't know which ones to turn on. But like the Google Drive one is brilliant because it just notifies you when anything's happened on any of your files that you've shared or or updated or commented on. So like when you commented on our show notes, Alicia, my Google Drive bot was popping up saying Alicia's commented on, left a comment and things like that. And it works well, but there's tons out there. I think there's like 98 in the directory now that I found. Carl's favorite one's the Giphy bot.
Yeah, I love a GIF, definitely.
The only problem with the Giphy bot is it's random. So you type in what you're feeling, but then it randomly picks it. And sometimes you've had a few that have gone out a bit and you've had to go, delete it quickly, or I didn't mean to send that one.
Yeah, I don't take the risk with that bot. Not with that. I'll still use the GIF off my phone.
We found
I'm picking.
We found with the Giphy bot, there's also a command that you can choose which one it sends. But if you put it into a chat room and you start choosing, everyone else can see as you're flicking through which one you're picking. But they can also take control and they can change it and hit the done button and send it. It's just it's meant to keep it private, but it doesn't at all.
No, it doesn't work properly. That.
Yeah, the issue with those GIFs is it's not until like the end of the GIF you realize he's sticking the middle finger. Then it's like, oh yeah, I need to take this one down.
Yeah.
You know, you think it's him just laughing, then so I gotta be careful with the GIFs for sure.
Yeah, so Carl jumps onto his mobile and picks it from the keyboard on there and then sends it off.
Yeah, definitely.
Smart guy.
Yeah.
So our section 3 is now news items, stuff that's new. So Carl's had a read about the American Bar Association. So Alicia, tell us about it, and Carl, any questions you've got, fire them away, because I haven't read it. So but Carl has.
Yeah. So they put out a report every year, which is so good, and kind of lets you know how across the board, those who actually answer the survey are doing. So there was 3 of the reports that I thought, to me stuck out the most was the cybersecurity report, the solo and small law firm report, and also the technology training report. So the first one regarding cybersecurity, again, causes of most security is just due to the lack of effort just being put in place to prevent it. So a lot of firms at time are not even putting in 2-factor authentication. They're not even having a password policy or enforcing it. And device, endpoint management is not something they're doing too, especially if you're a law firm. So it's super awesome that Google provides those tools for them. And I'm just trying to make sure they're aware of that as well. And then regarding the small and solo law firm report, it says only 27% of them actually approach a consultant regarding the technology for the firm. So
it's quite high, actually, 27%.
Yeah, for me, I was like, oh man, that's kind of low. But nonetheless, people just want to make sure they're provided the tools to do their best work. So I think if they're aware of already the tools they have available with Google Workspace, that can just cut overhead costs. So, I think it's awesome to be part of that process with them to make sure that they're really maximizing the resource they already have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got technology training, which is the 82% of attorneys agree that it was very important or somewhat important, which is good. Nice high level there.
Yeah, so I saw on Clio had collabed with a Microsoft, expert regarding, so I'm just like, there needs to be a Google one, there needs to be a Google Workspace one, and I'm going to be that one. So I'm just building the brick wall for that.
Fantastic. Carl, you had a look at this beforehand, and you just before Alicia joined, we were on the video call, you mentioned something to me about it that impressed you. What was it?
Well, what I found of interest was that 39 states in the US have now decreed that attorneys have got to have a level of competence with technology, which is a good step forward in a non-federalized country that you've got a fair amount of the states there. California sort of pushing the way, as they always do with this kind of thing, and saying that civil litigation attorneys have to have access to e-discovery or someone competent in e-discovery. And what this sort of pings back to, in my experience, is that in the UK, a lot of people in legal are older. I'm 47 and they're my age and older. And because they've seen a lot, you know a lot. So your experience, so the older you are, the better you are, but the less likely you are to use technology or to have grown up with it. And that dichotomy isn't working anymore. So it's interesting to see this being put into law in the United States, whereas I don't believe in the UK there's anything here that sort of enforces that. And what struck my mind, I used to work with US companies in my previous business, and I found that a lot of the technology in US companies was sort of 10 years behind where we were in the UK in terms of adoption of that. Although the US will lead in its development of Tesla and SpaceX and stuff, at the general roots level, it's really far behind. Do you find that to be the case still in the US, or do you find that, say, law, for example, is pushing forward now and is up there?
Yeah, I believe they're coming up there for sure. And like you mentioned regarding the e-discovery, I think another thing too, that they're not picking the right tier within Google Workspace, because Vault and e-discovery isn't in every tier. So a lot of attorneys, I realize, especially the solo ones, they're creating their website with Wix, right, and Squarespace, and they're paying for that reseller subscription of Google Workspace. Is
that basic? Is that the basic one that it comes with?
Yes, and they only have the basic one, and you can't upgrade because they only provide the basic one, Wix and Squarespace. So, explaining to them that you have the right tier and picking the right tier so that you can have e-discovery, like you mentioned, Kyle, is something that I'm trying to make sure they, make aware of. And having Vault and making sure you have record retention, rules in place, so that if your paralegal deletes the email that's destroyed after 30 days from her inbox, you still have record retention, so you can still obtain that for a case. So I agree, it's coming along.
It is an interesting one that's not necessarily spotted by people as important, because it's not only that you keep it if it's been deleted, but you can't tamper with it. It can't be changed. Yeah. We had an incident with one of our customers where they were not being paid an invoice by a supplier, and the amount was £250,000. The supplier said, "You didn't deliver on the said date with the said goods." The customer said, "Yes, we did." They came to us. They said, "Our supplier sent this PDF over that says we didn't do it on the right date, but I know we did. I know we did." And we went into the Vault in Google Workspace, pulled out the original email, and found that their supplier had doctored the email they'd sent back. They'd forged it. With that information, our client was able to go back to the MD of that company and say, "Are you absolutely 100% sure about this? Because if you're not, I'll take it to my attorney." And they backed down immediately because they knew they'd been caught out. The Vault is priceless when you need it.
Yeah. It's like insurance, right? You only need it when you need it. You don't even worry about it. You don't call up Geico or, how you guys are doing. You're just so happy you have it when a bad situation happens. And I think that's the problem with most attorneys. They're waiting for a bad situation to happen, and it's, then they want to proceed. So
yeah,
we stick Google Vault on for all our clients. Most of them probably don't even know it's there. It's just we know it's there. We know that you'll need it one day, and when you do, you'll absolutely love us when you do need it.
Yeah, there's no point in offering Vault, because people go, "What benefit does it bring?" No, nothing at all until you need it. Zero. You may never need it. "Oh, I'm not buying for that." So we like to say, "No, you're having it, or you don't work with us." That's it.
Yeah.
Because they need it.
Yeah, exactly. Especially attorneys with e-discovery. So.
See, I guess your attorneys now would like all their clients to have e-discovery as well, because that'll make their job a lot easier too.
Yeah, regarding most of them are using like Outlook. So the firm I was at, we were using Gmail, and those opposing counsel were using like Outlook. So hopefully they have things in place.
James, this kind of ties into the next news piece that you've got there about pets' names used as passwords.
Yes. This won't just be British people, this will be globally, but millions of British people are still using pet names as their online passwords, and then 6% of people are still using the word password as part of their password.
Yeah.
So it's incredible, and we have this problem in the UK in that because of competition between the banks, banks guarantee to refund you any money that you lose through fraud or anything silly, any silly stuff you do, and you end up paying somebody, and that they'll cover you that money. Therefore, it naturally makes people not care about their security, because you're getting free insurance there from the banks. What have you got to lose if the bank's always going to cover you? It's one bank introduced it probably, I think it was maybe 2016 or something like that, and then all the other banks copied, just so they could all compete with each other, and they've naturally brought security down now, because people don't learn about getting a better password, because pain for them if it goes wrong. If they lose their money, they get their money back. There's nothing there. So what's the motive for you ever to want to improve your security when you're not going to lose anything? And that'll be one of the reasons for people having bad passwords. It will also be the fact that a lot of people don't know about password managers and how to use them correctly. And generally, people are lazy. And if they can just use one password throughout, they will do that until the day it bites them, which it won't, because the bank's going to cover you. So you're okay. But yeah, it's mad.
That's so true.
Do you have that in the States where they cover you if you lose money to online fraud, that the bank will just give you your money back?
Yeah, depending on the amount, they'll give it back while they're investigating. And then if the investigation goes through well, they'll keep the money in your account and so forth. And
if they find that it was you at fault, do they take the money back off you afterwards then, or?
Yeah.
I don't think they do. I don't think anyone's ever been found at fault by a UK bank.
No,
they're worried about losing the customer.
There was one recently in the UK where a UK police officer, 20 years, was in cybersecurity for 20 years, retired, then got frauded in this way, had the money taken off him, and the bank gave him the money back. I would never have given that guy the money. But you did. This was what you taught people how to do, and then you got scammed yourself. You're clearly useless, mate. You shouldn't get any money. Ridiculous.
20 years and still get caught.
It's got to stop, because all we're doing is this is like giving children sweets every time they want some sweets. Can I have some sweets? Yeah, of course you can. Knock yourself out. Have some chocolate. It's ridiculous. You wouldn't do it with children, yet we'll do it with adults. I don't have any sympathy on this. None.
No, nor do I. Nor do I. I think they should be punished. The next one is Elon Musk and Neuralink. So I have a thing that I really like, technology, when it is involved in healthcare and makes people's lives better. I think it's the best use of technology. And what I like about this is he's shown a demo now of a monkey playing ping pong with just its mind on a TV screen. But what this is there to show is that the worst disability you can have, I think, is being locked into your body, where you have no control. You're just lying there. Your brain's fully functional, but you can't do anything. But with Neuralink, it's going to allow people to communicate, at least with a smartphone or something like that, because it's connected directly to your mind, and be able to control things. And then he's also talking about, if you have a Neuralink implant in your brain, you could then have a Neuralink, say if you've lost the ability to walk, a Neuralink in your legs, that because you've hurt your spine, so your signals aren't getting down there, and that would essentially bypass the spine and send the electrons, the electrics, to make your legs work. So you can control your legs if you're disabled or paralyzed, by just bypassing the affected circuitry inside your body.
Wow, I wouldn't have gotten that from the title.
No, yeah.
But that's awesome.
But yeah, it is great. Did you see the video? It's on The Verge, actually. This article's from, and they've got the video on YouTube.
I read the news every day, so I saw the headline, but I thought it was just one of those memes things. You read a meme.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a meme thing, but
right.
This team that he's put together, they're going to solve this problem. I'm pretty sure of it. They're going to find a way to take people with locked-in syndrome and paraplegics and enable them to move again.
Yeah, or at least communicate, because that's the worst part, not being able to communicate.
This ties in again, James, another one. This ties in with my Iron Man body armor news that's coming. Exoskeleton devices.
Well, jump onto that one, and then we'll go back to the other news items. So tell us about the Iron Man body armor.
Anybody here remember the film Aliens?
Yeah.
A long time ago, but may have seen the film Aliens. In it, Sigourney Weaver wears a forklift truck, basically, to move boxes around. And this is happening now. Exoskeleton suits that we can put on to make us stronger. So if you've got a bad back or a bad knee, you can put this exoskeleton suit on. It's got hydraulics, and it will help you.
Haven't they been around for a while?
Well, everything's been around in development, James, for a while, but these are being developed now for consumers as opposed to being used in industry.
Oh, yeah, because they definitely had exoskeleton things in the military before.
Yes, yeah, no, they have done, and they've had them in commercial basis as well. But this is now coming for you at home, so like you can use it in garden, climbing the stairs.
Well, there you go. As you said, that's your Neuralink to the exoskeleton, so that you can move again.
That's what I'm thinking. It's going to go like that, isn't it? It's going to be Neuralink to exoskeleton that then becomes probably in skeleton in some aspects, and eventually that's how it's going to work. I reckon we will become slightly Terminator-ish.
Would you be happy to have a Neuralink, Alicia? Would you have a computer programmed directly into your brain, connected to your brain?
I guess depending on my situation, right? I think at one point, I think we all would get kind of desperate if we have a certain desire that can't be accomplished.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've never been in that situation before, to that where I've been that desperate. So
what if it was just something that was offered that anyone could have? Would you? And
no.
You wouldn't.
No.
Would you, Carl?
I don't see why I would want to take it now, with no reason to take it. But if
it's 100% tested, it's not going to damage you. Would you take it?
No, because that's like adding an extra thing that I don't need. Why would I want to do that? Why do I want to add something extra I don't need?
You could remember people's names better. that's a great advantage.
It's like the vault. It's like the vault.
I wouldn't have to type my message back to you in Google Chat. I could just think it.
I'd like to know whether, James, is it Neuralink that actually works, or is it like preemptive Neuralink? Because if it's anything like the autopilot in the Teslas that doesn't really work, like the one today in the news where the two people are in the back seat and it crashed. I'm not sure about this stuff yet. If I was paraplegic and I've lost all I'm locked in, then I'm going to take it. Yeah, because I've got nothing much left to lose.
I might change my mind on taking it, actually, because if it's everything I'm thinking about and it puts into Google Chat, that could come off badly.
Look, if I could download my memories into the actual memories I could play in my mind into video format, that'd be pretty good, because I could pull back loads of people that have died in my life that I don't have any video footage of. That'd be pretty cool, like my nan and granddad and stuff. They could all come back to life.
The interesting about that would be is most likely be fake memories as well. Because you know how your brain doesn't bring back what actually happened, it brings back what it thought happened, and it can actually completely invent things that never even did happen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's well known. Eyewitnesses are not to be relied upon at all. Nevertheless, I'm not taking it to court. I'm just be interested in seeing man again. That's all. And I don't mind whatever memory that is. To be honest, I'll be fine.
So popping back up then to the story before. Okay. Google's reigniting the recommended for Google Workspace program, which I never knew was lit in the first place. But anyway, this program, it features. So what they're doing is now when you go to the Google Workspace marketplace and you've got all those apps that you can plug in, the recommended for Google Workspace ones are essentially ones that have been tested by Google for security and to make sure that they're a high quality integration. Because there is quite a bit of junk on there, and if you don't know what you're installing, you're not sure. And likewise, you don't know how what the app's doing with its data once you've granted access to it. So having ones that have been authenticated by Google and shown to be okay, that makes it a lot easier for people to select ones that they should use in their business, and then avoid the slightly dodgy ones that no one knows exactly who's made them or what they're doing.
Yeah, I think this is an awesome initiative of Google. Smart move. Now company's going to want to get that badge. You know, everybody wants a badge.
Yeah. Everyone wants a badge because whenever people come for Google Workspace apps for us that they want to install, we essentially only allow them to install stuff that we know about, like Asana, Slack, things like that. Ones that are names that you can trust and you know about and been around for a long time. But when you go onto Google Workspace, look at all the ones that are like PDF readers and stuff like that, and there's just a whole selection of I wouldn't touch that one if I was you. They've made the thumbnail from Microsoft Word art or whatever, so don't touch that one, but people still will.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, there's an interesting thing actually, because we found this out. So in Google Workspace, if you have it set up so people can't install apps from the marketplace, or they can only install whitelisted ones, then you can't use any bots inside Google Chat, because there's no way of whitelisting the bots inside Google Chat. So it turns off the ability to use bots inside Google Chat, which is kind of like a bit of an oversight there, because you can't even use like Google Drive bot anymore just because you've turned the ability off to install Workspace apps. So that popped up a couple of weeks ago actually. Then there's one final one we've got here. AI. Oh, have you got anything else you wanted to add to that, Alicia, with the Workspace recommended by Google?
Now, I was going to say that would be an easy fix for them. I'm sure people are going to realize that real quick. And That makes
Hopefully
it
so.
doesn't. Yeah.
I've got Javier Solitaire. I can never pronounce his surname, but he's on Twitter, and the guy head of Google Workspace. So every so often I send him a tweet. Can you get this sorted, please? And he's quite good. He replies to quite a few things as well. So
Nice.
he's good. You got any opinion on that, Google? The recommended to Workspace? Recommended from Google Workspace program?
Well, for me, with the law firms, I know some case management systems like Clio, Practice Panther, they have little apps integration. So I try to make sure they have that for their Gmail so that they can apply with whatever email to the appropriate case to track their communications and stuff. So, and then there's other stuff I mentioned for them, but it depends on what they're trying to accomplish. But usually I try to make sure they have the case management system in place first.
The one thing I hope they bring in now is if you're on the advanced protection program, so if you've got your app, your login, some apps you can't use because you can't connect to them because they haven't got advanced protection program authentication set up. So hopefully that will get rid of that, because the interesting one is AppScript, which is owned by Google now, part of Google Workspace. You cannot log into it if your account is in the advanced protection program. So if you've got a Google account yet, can't log in. Comes back with an error each time, and I've reported it non-stop to Google, and they've not done anything about it yet. Because we're in the advanced protection program, me and Carl, for our stuff. I can imagine you are as well, because you've got access to so many other people's accounts and stuff like that. But we can't use AppScript at the moment because we just can't sign into it. I mean, AppSheet even. Last news story was that is this yours, Kyle? AI comes to car repair.
Yeah, it is, because we have a customer that's a body shop, and this was quite interesting that a significant amount of US auto claims are being settled by photographs now, rather than a loss adjuster coming to look at the vehicle, or you take your vehicle to the body shop and then the adjuster looks at it at the body shop and gives you a quotation. What's happening now is they're asking you to get out and take photographs of the car in an app, and then AI will assess the damage from that and make a loss adjustment based on that, and then tell you where your car goes. Either it's going to go on a tow truck or you drive it there and it gets repaired. And this is circling the industry of loss adjusters, as you can imagine. So they're all saying, and the body shop owners are saying, you can't beat a human person looking it over, and the insurance companies are going, no, the computer is much better at this. Because obviously the computer is going to be right X amount of times, and then there'll be a number of times when it's wide of the mark, but they won't care because that'll be just amount of loss that's accepted, amount of money that they'll just waste on the occasional job that's wrong. And it's just an example of an industry being disrupted. And with us having a body shop, it was something I was going to chat to the owner of the body shop about next time I saw him and saw what he thought about this kind of thing. I don't think it will particularly affect him because he's very smart at utilizing technology in his body shop, and it's something he likes to do. And I can see that this would probably make a lot of sense, in that you can have the car come to you with all the stuff worked out for what needs to be repaired, and you just repair it. No more sitting on the car waiting for someone to assess it and stuff. It's done by you yourself. There's a lot more to say about it, James, Alicia. It just struck me as just interesting that industry is just changing rapidly from what it once was.
It's interesting, especially when they said that they don't think the AI will be better than a human at doing it. But it's kind of been proven with doctors, hasn't it? When they we run scans through AI, it's more likely to pick up a cancer infection, early stages of cancer, than a doctor is, or a surgeon or whatever.
Yeah, because in this situation, it's going to look at millions of images of a crushed fender and recognise what that needs to be done, as opposed to what doesn't need to be done, and it's better than the human eye for that.
You're using US then, aren't you? Fender. Is Fender a front bumper?
Yes, it is. It's a bumper.
Thought so. Wasn't sure.
I tried to interchange the terms. It just makes it easier.
Yeah. It's funny, some of the differences in the words. Like we call the back of a car a boot. What is it in America? Trunk, isn't it?
Trunk.
Yeah. So,
yeah. I always joke about the different lingos between UK and US. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, turn the tap on. What? Force it. No, it's not stuck. Boom. But yeah, there are some weird ones. Force it's a weird one. Why you don't call it a tap? I've no idea.
A faucet? Oh, a faucet. Oh, okay. I get it. Yeah, we usually just say the sink.
Okay.
Because we caught out Tony from SADA when we asked him what he did in the last in the past fortnight, because fortnight in the UK is the last 2 weeks. And and I didn't know that you guys didn't use the term fortnight in the US.
What is Fortnite?
It's the
game?
the last 2 weeks. No, that's a game called Fortnite, and then you've got a term called fortnight, which is the previous 2 weeks.
A fortnight is 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago.
Or in the future, depending on how you use it.
Yeah, it gets complicated.
I know. Yeah, never heard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't know that you guys didn't use that word. So yeah, that's why in our emails I said in the previous 2 weeks. I changed the show notes as well. I removed the word fortnight as well.
Yeah.
From that. Anyway, we're on to your interview now, Alicia. So we had a bit of it at the start. So tell us about yourself and your backstory.
Yeah. So I consider myself to be a little bit more inquisitive than techie. So I really like to know how things work and why they work that way and what alternatives of working that way. So that led me to the point where I am right now, where even though I was working for a boutique law firm, just being in the admin console for them and then clicking all the little apps and then reading Google articles and then like connecting the dots and how we can put it in the firm kind of made me, where I'm at today. And basically just teaching myself the admin console and even taking it upon myself to do like the certifications and so forth to really make sure that I'm like becoming that expert for that. So that's kind of my backstory with being in the legal industry for Google, for Google Workspace. Yeah.
And how many other firms did you work at previously before setting up yourself?
So the one I was at was just one. Before that was a legal agency for the state of Florida. But that last boutique firm was one of the ones that were using Gmail. And that's kind of where I got my exposure, being in that admin console and just making it my playground. So even though no one trained me in that, I was able to train the person who replaced me once I left. So
what was the motivation to go and start Legally Techie? What was like, what changed that you decided I'm going to do my own business now? I'm going to get on with it.
I would say the change was realizing that there must be so many other firms out there that doesn't realize what they have before them. Yeah. Because even though I was helping them maximize Google Workspace, they still had other services they just didn't want to let go, like Dropbox, or they didn't have any type of security rules, mainly enforced regarding maybe emails or maybe even Chrome browser and so forth like that. So once I learned all those things, I was like, this is amazing. This is so amazing. And I'm going to make sure I tell the world. But, as anything starting off new, you're just a person in the middle of a crowd. So definitely trying to find my voice now. Yeah,
it's working. You're getting spotted anyway on LinkedIn. So what would you say? What excites you the most in the work that you're doing with Legally Techie?
I believe what excites me the most is giving solo attorneys and small law firms that confidence they need to say to their clients, especially if the clients have past experience where they've been involved in data breaches, or you having to email the client again because you can't find that email regarding their ID and stuff like that. Being able to have that confidence to get on a case, get it done, settle it, and everything is secure, efficient, and your team is productive, I think that's an awesome part of that process with them and building that out.
Super. And how did you come up with the name Legally Techie? It's a good name.
If I tell you the story, you probably won't believe me.
Go for it.
But I'm going to tell you anyway.
Yeah.
I literally woke up from a dream and it came out my mouth like legal tech. So I was like, let me look up Legal Techie. Somebody already had it. Then I thought of the movie Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
So I looked up Legally Techie and no one had it, and I tried to trademark it right then and there, so fast. So that's something I did, yeah, for sure.
So you got the trademark on that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Super.
I'm trying to get Legally Techie Academy as well trademarked, but we'll see.
Brilliant. It's a great name. So
Thank you.
With the pandemic going on, what positives have you got out of the pandemic? Because everyone focuses on the negatives, and forget that. Let's talk about the positives. What's the good stuff that's come to you since the pandemic broke out over a year ago?
Yeah, so I think now that attorneys and law firms are being fully immersed in technology, they're starting to realize what their pain points are, where they're lacking. So to be able to be part of that process and having my company available to show law firms you need to be technically compliant, you need to have technology competency, is awesome. So I think for me that's the positive, because now the dialogue is a lot easier, I would say, than 2 years ago about legal tech and having the tools you need to run an efficient law firm. So I think that's awesome from what the pandemic has brought.
Other law firms, are they returning to their offices, or are they going to carry on being remote?
Some of them are, some aren't, but I think some would prefer to go back to the office just because of synergy and so much collaboration is involved within a law firm with the paralegal and attorney. Some are, but again, I think it's because they just don't realize of the tools they have available to still have a human interaction, even though you're virtual. So,
because the nice thing is, we noticed when people are on Google Workspace and the pandemic first hit, they just went off and worked at home anyway. They didn't even have to contact us. We had no involvement in any of our clients moving from working in an office to remote working, because it just worked straight away. And that's the biggest advantage of Google Workspace. If anyone's doing Microsoft, they all got involved. They all had to help out, all had to set up VPNs and nonsenses like that. But I guess you had the same thing. They just went off and worked at home. You didn't need to contact you about it.
Yeah. So the firm I was at before, during the mid of the pandemic, they were still trying to transition to the cloud. So they were a bit behind, but definitely I saw that at that point, that was a learning lesson for me, to realize the importance of having a cloud base and making sure that you're optimizing Google Workspace for your firm, for sure.
That was a learning lesson for them as well. They shouldn't have let you go. Kept you on board, so they've been sorted. So what are your, on a daily basis, which bit of technology could you not live without?
Yeah, so that one was a hard one, because I'm a bit of a minimalist. I don't have a lot of gadgets. I use the same things over. So I just said the internet, because I think life would be a bit dark without having the internet, but I don't know if that was the type of technology you're referring to.
No, that's fine. The internet is pretty much the most revolutionary technology of all time, in that without the internet, Kimbley IT wouldn't exist, because there's no way I could have gone out and marketed it and competed against established people without the internet. And likewise for yourself, it makes it so easy to set up a business and get in contact with people and come on podcasts and things like this and just get your message out there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's nice.
I guess that's something you'd agree with as well, Carl? The internet?
What, the most groundbreaking bit of technology ever?
No, something you couldn't live without. No,
the world would cease to function correctly without it. It's impossible to remove it, extract it from the world now. It's as ridiculous as removing electricity would have been 20 years after that come out. It has to exist. Yeah.
So what's your favorite bit of technology ever, Alicia?
I know this is gonna probably hurt some people, but I said the iPhone, hands down. It's my favorite. The camera's great. And I know some people don't like how restrictive it is, but I just look at it as a life vest. That restriction is a protection. So
you've not been tempted to move to Pixel? Now you're doing Google Workspace?
Not at all.
Yeah. That's a straight answer, that was.
Not at all, honestly. Yeah. So I think my minimalist is not allowing me to even put my mind on other gadgets right now. So, but yeah, who knows?
And so what are your heroes? You got any heroes, famous people that you admire or inspire you?
Not as of now, no, not really. I can't think of anyone right now, but I do try to follow like 3 core principles: honesty, patience, and kindness. So I think, as you know, dealing with tech support or helping people with tech, they're not always on the same level when you have to explain stuff or when you have to tell them stuff. And sometimes because you know more, you have to be even more cautious, because they're taking your word very heavy.
Yeah.
Or I don't know how to translate that well, but your words are worth a lot. So being honest too, so that, they aren't being taken advantage of as well. So I try to follow those 3 core principles of being honest, kind, and patient with them.
You can't go wrong with those, so it's a good start always.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you were on a deserted island, no broadband or mobile communications, or any chance of ever being rescued, ever, what 3 bits of technology would you take with you?
So I said a solar panel generator.
Good choice. Good choice.
And my iPhone and iPad so I can read books and take pictures. So as long as I can charge those 2 things every night, I'm good.
I'm gonna say the pictures might be limited. I mean, you know, you're gonna get a bit bored.
You're only be able to share them with yourself.
Beach, tree, sun, beach, repeat. However,
if you have certain apps already installed before you brought the internet, then you can start. You know.
I love it when people bring a solar panel with them, because it always means that you put some thought into it of what you're going to take along. Because so many people forget that part. How am I going to power all this stuff that I brought along with me?
Yeah, for sure.
Carl, do you have any questions you want to throw before we move on to the next section?
No, I think I'm good, James. I'm good. I quite like that, the solar powered generator. That's a great answer. We've not had too many people put so much thought into it yet. You've got to be able to produce the power on the desert island. What better than a solar powered generator for that? And if you, as you say, if you've installed some apps on your phone, say installed a chess app that plays off the phone, you know what? That's going to keep you going forever.
Yeah.
You can play chess forever against a phone.
You could actually never get the same game twice.
You get, and you know that you could just keep going to get better and better. So it's not bad. Not a bad choice.
What apps would you take with you? What would you have pre-installed on that phone?
Oh, man.
That's a good follow-up question by me.
I know, right? That's good, because like now that there's no internet, it's taking out all my apps. I think that's why I stuck to camera. But well, there's one app I always use. It's called JW Library, which is just like scriptures and stuff like that, Bible-based scriptures. So that helps me, you know, throughout the day. It doesn't need internet as well.
Yep.
So I would definitely have that app. And then for my pictures, I have a photo editing app, so I can put pointers and like GIFs, you know, like little stickers on their background, so that if I make a sandman or a snowman or sandman,
yep.
I can dress them up and so forth. So those apps. And my iPad, I have books already installed, so I read things online and stuff like that. So yeah, I won't be able to download any more books, but I'll get really acquainted with some.
Yeah, you would, for sure.
For sure.
You wouldn't need to keep reading them, actually. You probably have to remember them after a certain period of time.
I'll add series to it, and then I'll start writing my books on my...
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
So on the recommendations, you've got one called Timer. Is that like a Pomodoro timer thing?
So it's just a regular like kitchen timer or timer on your phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was an app.
No, I just use it throughout the day to help me stay on track if I'm spending too much time on one task. And it's like, I try to follow the 45-15 type of thing, so I'm not getting
45 minutes working, 15 minutes break.
Yeah, standing up, stretching.
Yeah,
so that I'm not spending like an hour on the black hole, you know, the internet black hole or the YouTube black hole.
Yeah.
So
I use the Pomodoro, so I've got an app on my Chrome, and it'll do a 25-minute thing, and then it'll ping and say have a 5-minute break, and then do another 25 minutes and see how many you can do during the day. Yeah. Kyle doesn't do any of that kind of stuff, and he just does his own thing.
Yeah, I've tried all of these things over the years, and I know my own mind now. I just do my own stuff.
Yeah.
When I get the tab,
it's hard to
get into. I get into it. The things that you find interesting, you'll get into and work on. The things that are not as interesting, just grind them out, get them done.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's my little recommendation.
My recommendation is sort of an oldish one in that I've got on Disney Plus. I've decided to start watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and because I've ignored it for years and years and years, and I'm watching it in timeline order. So I've done I think I've done 6 films now. I think Iron Man 3 is the next one I've got to watch in the timeline order. And actually, they're really good. I don't normally do sci-fi films. It's not really my thing, but this is good because I know you're being talked into do it as well, aren't you, Carl? By your
I've done 2 already. I've done the first 2.
so
Captain
you've done
America and Captain
Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'll admit it, they're enjoyable. Yeah, they're enjoyable.
Have you watched them? Alicia, have you watched those films?
No. Sorry. I'm out of the Marvel DC world. I'm so out of touch. And Star Wars as well. So sorry.
So far, what it strikes me is it's pretty good if you're a geeky, nerdy type. So I can see why they appeal a lot. There's loads of linking back to other films and nerdy stuff. So it's pretty good like that.
Have you noticed how Stan Lee has a cameo in all the films so far?
Yeah.
But the one in Captain Marvel, I found this out afterwards. That's CGI because he was dead by then.
Yes, he was. Yeah, they did. That's what they did the introduction to him at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
My girlfriend didn't know what a Wilhelm scream was in the film. Do you guys know what a Wilhelm scream is?
I don't. Is Alicia still with us? She's paused, frozen.
I can't believe you don't know what that is, James. It's a famous scream that's in movies. I'll send you a link to it. When you hear it, you'll know it. You recognise it. And directors put it in nearly every single film. And I like to try and spot it.
And what's your recommendation, Carl? I think it's something I've recommended to you that you're using as your recommendation.
It's a Netflix show. It's a Netflix documentary called Sherpa about the Sherpas in Nepal, in the Himalayas, who help everybody up the mountain to climb Everest. And it's quite a sad story about how that whole population of people, because Sherpa is a indigenous population rather than a term for somebody. It is actually a grouping of people in life, and they have a rough deal. They really do have a rough deal. If they don't help people up the mountain, they have no money. And if they do, they're dying at young ages, and their fathers, and they're leaving, children with no dads and stuff. It's quite an interesting story of the battle of the rich corporates versus the native Sherpa people. And it's a good documentary, that well worth watching.
It's interesting because some of those guys have been up there. One guy 22 times. I went on Wikipedia afterwards, and there's another Sherpa now who's, I think, got the record of 24 times going up Mount Everest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
But that's our recommendations, and I've got nothing else to add, unless you've got any other hidden recommendations that you two want to drop in.
No, I haven't started watching anything else yet, James. No.
Super. Well, I'll tell you what, Alicia.
That much of a watch.
Let the listeners know where they can find you and get in contact with you, and where's the best place to check out Legally Techie.
Yeah, so the best place is LinkedIn. That's usually where I'm most of my time. But also, you can send me a tweet on Twitter or check out my website as well, legallytechie.com.
Super. And then you got Kyle and myself on Kimbley.com, or if you want to see our unedited rants, go to Twitter. If you want to see our edited rants, go to LinkedIn. Our censored rants, they're on LinkedIn. But that's it. That's it. And thanks everyone for listening. And don't forget to subscribe and go check out Legally Techie and subscribe to Alicia's YouTube channel, especially if you're in the legal field, to get some amazing tips on how to use Google Workspace in the legal world.
Indeed.
So thank you for listening, and we'll speak to you again in 2 weeks' time.
See you later.
That's a fortnight, by the way.
Yeah,
no worries. That's fine. Thank you.